The Riverside Ballroom was exactly what you'd expect. 200 guests, champagne flowing like a river, and my sister Brooke, dazzling in her white dress, had been parading her engagement ring around for the past hour like it was the Hope Diamond itself. A 2-carat stunner, platinum setting, costing her fiancé a solid 3 months of his salary. She recounted her proposal story at least 15 times already that night, each retelling met with coos and gasps. My parents, naturally, beamed with pride, asking intricate questions about the jeweler and the ring's cut and clarity, like they were certified gemologists. Me, I was a ghost, standing near the bar, nursing a glass of Pinot Noir, offering polite congratulations when absolutely necessary. Just background noise. Another evening in the shadow of the Brooke show. Then, the doors opened. Uncle James, my father's younger brother, walked in, apologizing for a flight delay. And just like that, the entire atmosphere shifted. James wasn't just family. He was a venture capitalist who'd made a fortune backing tech startups in the late 90s. More importantly, he was the only family member who'd bothered to stay connected with me over the last 8 years, despite living 3,000 miles away in San Francisco. "Sorry I'm late, everyone," James boomed, his voice cutting through the chatter as he made his way to our family cluster. He hugged Brooke, offered a hearty handshake to her beaming fiancé, and then his eyes found mine. A warm, genuine smile. He pulled me into a tight embrace. "Sophia, God, it's good to see you." He pulled back, studying my face, his eyes twinkling. "You look incredible. How's life in that $1.5 million house you purchased? Is the neighborhood everything you hoped for?" The conversation around us didn't just die, it evaporated. Brooke's hand, the one showcasing her supposedly magnificent ring, froze mid-gesture. My mother's champagne flute stopped halfway to her lips. My father's face, usually ruddy with good cheer, drained of all color, turning bone white. "James," my father whispered, his voice tight with confusion. "What house?" I took a slow, deliberate sip of my wine, letting the rich, dark liquid coat my tongue. The satisfaction that spread through me was a slow, delicious burn. 8 years. 8 long years of being overlooked, dismissed, and treated like the family afterthought, while Brooke's every tiny achievement became a red carpet event, a grand theatrical production. And now, finally, the curtain was about to fall. The truth was coming out. "The house on Sterling Heights," James said, so casually, accepting a fresh champagne flute from a passing server. "The one Sophia bought in 2016. Gorgeous craftsman. That mountain view is spectacular, isn't it? I stayed there last time I was in town." Brooke found her voice first, a sharp, panicked squeak. "Sophia doesn't own a house. She rents that apartment near the university." "I rented that apartment," I corrected, my voice calm, almost serene, "for about 2 years during my PhD program. Then I bought the house on Sterling Heights. That was 8 years ago." My father's champagne flute tilted precariously in his grip. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the 5-bedroom craftsman I purchased for $1.2 million in June 2016, I said, my voice even unhurried. "The one that's now valued at approximately $1.5 million, according to recent market comparables." The number seemed to reverberate through our tight family circle. My mother's hand flew to her throat, her eyes wide with shock. My father looked like he'd been struck by lightning. And Brooke's perfect, practiced smile, it just cracked. "That's impossible," my mother breathed, her voice barely a whisper. "Where would you get over $1 million? I put down $240,000 and financed the rest," I explained, though honestly, it felt like an afterthought. "I paid off the mortgage 6 years ago." James nodded, a proud, knowing smile on his face. "Smart move. Sophia's always been brilliant with money. That signing bonus from Helix Pharmaceuticals, she put the entire amount toward the mortgage principal. Paid off $960,000 in 2 years. Signing bonus?" My father's voice was faint now, almost disbelieving. "What signing bonus?" "From when I started at Helix," I said. "They offered me $180,000 as a signing bonus to leave my postdoc position. I accepted and used it all to pay down the mortgage." "You got a $180,000 signing bonus." Brooke's voice was strangled, barely audible. "That's standard for senior positions in pharmaceutical research," I explained, matter-of-factly. "My current annual compensation is $375,000, including bonuses and stock options." The silence that followed was absolute. You could have heard a pin drop, or in this case, someone's champagne flute as it slipped from their fingers and shattered on the marble floor. Several guests turned to look. My mother looked like she might genuinely faint. $375,000, my father repeated mechanically, his eyes glazed over. "A year. Base salary is $280,000, I clarified. "Annual performance bonuses average around $60,000, and my stock options vested this year at approximately $35,000. James chuckled softly. "Sophia's being modest. Those stock options. She mentioned she's sitting on another $420,000 in unvested equity, plus the patent royalties." "Patent royalties?" my mother whispered, her voice a reedy gasp. "I hold 11 patents in oncology drug delivery systems," I stated. "They generate approximately $95,000 annually in licensing fees." Brooke's hand, still frozen in midair with her ring exposed, began to to tremble. Her 2-carat engagement ring suddenly looked very small, almost insignificant. My parents stood completely still, processing information that clearly did not fit their carefully constructed understanding of me. "I don't understand," my mother said, her voice breaking. "You're a pharmaceutical researcher. How can you afford all this?" "I'm the director of oncology research at Helix Pharmaceuticals," I corrected gently, a faint tremor in my own voice. "I oversee a department of 47 researchers. We're currently in phase 3 trials for a drug that could revolutionize pancreatic cancer treatment." James pulled out his phone, scrolling through something quickly. "Actually, Sophia's work was featured in Nature Medicine last month. The article called her research groundbreaking and potentially Nobel-worthy." "Nobel Prize?" my father croaked, his voice thick with disbelief. "It's early to talk about that," I said, uncomfortable with the sudden shift to grand speculation. "But the research is promising. If the phase 3 trials succeed, we could save thousands of lives annually. By the way, if you're still with me, soaking in all this family drama, hit that subscribe button. More unbelievable stories like this one are always coming." Brooke found her voice again, sharp and defensive. "Why didn't you tell us about any of this?" "I did tell you," I said quietly, the old hurt rising to the surface. "Multiple times, you didn't listen." "That's not true," my father protested weakly. James set his phone down with a soft click. "Actually, it is true. I have the emails. Sophia sent me one in November 2016, mentioning the house. Dad, you said she was being financially irresponsible. Mom, you asked if she was sure she could handle the maintenance. April 2018, she mentioned the mortgage payoff at Easter dinner. You both asked if that meant she was unemployed." "We didn't say that," my mother wailed, tears welling in her eyes. "You did," I confirmed, my voice firm. "You assumed that paying off a mortgage meant I'd lost my job, not that I'd been financially successful enough to eliminate the debt." The distinction seemed to wound my mother deeply. Her eyes filled with tears that finally spilled over. My father's jaw clenched so hard I could see the muscle jumping beneath his skin. Uncle James, ever the instigator, continued as if nothing profound had happened. "Sophia, have you made a decision about the lake house investment? That property was stunning." "What lake house?" my father demanded, his voice a bewildered growl. "There's a luxury property available on Lake Serenity," James explained calmly. 6 bedrooms, private dock, 3 acres. Sophia's considering purchasing it as a vacation rental property." "Why would Sophia buy a vacation rental?" Brooke asked, her voice thin and reedy. "For income diversification," James said, a slight smirk playing on his lips. "She already owns 4 rental properties in addition to her primary residence. This would be her 6th property overall." The revelation hit them like a physical blow, a true shockwave. My mother actually swayed on her feet, and my father instinctively grabbed her elbow to steady her. Brooke looked like someone had just slapped her across the face. "4 rental properties?" my mother whispered, her eyes wide with a new, horrifying realization. "Small, single-family homes in emerging neighborhoods," I elaborated. "I buy them below market, update them, and rent them to young professionals. Average cash flow of about $1,800 per unit after all expenses. That's $7,200 a month." $7,200 a month, my father calculated automatically, his mind still working through the numbers. "That's over $86,000 a year in rental income, plus appreciation." "Precisely," James added. "Those properties have increased in value by an average of 42% since Sophia purchased them. Her total real estate equity across all properties is approximately $2.1 million. The numbers kept landing like artillery shells, each one exploding a new layer of their ignorance. Brooke's engagement ring hand dropped to her side, forgotten. My parents stood frozen, trying to process a version of their daughter that simply didn't match the one in their heads. $2 million in real estate, my father said slowly, the words heavy and disbelieving. "That's just the real estate," James corrected. "Sophia's total net worth is closer to $3.2 million when you include her retirement accounts, investment portfolio, stock options, and liquid assets." $3 million, Brooke's voice came out as a strangled whisper. $3.2 million, I corrected quietly, maintaining my composure. "Though these are estimates. Market fluctuations could change the exact figure." My mother's champagne flute miraculously slipped from her fingers again, joining the earlier casualty on the floor. This time she didn't even notice. "You're a multimillionaire," she gasped. "On paper," I said, a slight shrug. "Most of it's invested or in real estate equity." Just then, James's colleague, Dr. Elizabeth Park, approached our group with a warm smile. "Sophia, I didn't know you'd be here. Congratulations on the FDA breakthrough designation. That's incredible news." "Thank you, Elizabeth," I said, genuinely pleased to see her. "We're very excited about the potential." "FDA breakthrough," my father said faintly, completely lost now. "The FDA granted our pancreatic cancer drug breakthrough therapy designation 3 weeks ago," I explained, patience wearing thin. "It fast-tracks the approval process. If everything goes well, we could have approval within 18 months instead of the usual 4 years." Elizabeth beamed. "Sophia's work is going to save countless lives. She's brilliant. Are you coming to the conference in Geneva next month? I'll be presenting our Phase 3 preliminary data, I confirmed. Presenting at a conference in Geneva, my mother repeated, her voice a jumbled mix of awe and utter confusion. The International Oncology Research Symposium, I clarified. I'm giving the keynote address on novel drug delivery mechanisms. It's a fairly significant honor in the field. Fairly significant, James scoffed playfully. Sophia's the youngest keynote speaker in the symposium's 40-year history. It's a huge deal. Brooke's voice took on a bitter, venomous edge. So you're just famous, is that what this is? I'm not famous, I said, a sigh escaping my lips. I'm respected in my field. There's a difference. Your research has been cited over 4,000 times, Elizabeth pointed out, her eyes sparkling. You've published 37 peer-reviewed papers. You've revolutionized oncology drug delivery. That's more than respect, Sophia. That's recognition of genuine brilliance. The praise felt uncomfortable under the circumstances, but I appreciated Elizabeth's unwavering support. My parents looked utterly shell-shocked. Brooke looked like she was about to be physically ill. I need some air, Brooke mumbled, pushing through the crowd toward the balcony. Her fiancé hesitated, looking between Brooke and our dumbfounded family group, then dutifully followed her. My mother started to go after them, but my father held her back. Let them go, Patricia, he said quietly, his voice gravely. We need to talk to Sophia. What's there to talk about? I asked, a fresh wave of resentment washing over me. Uncle James mentioned my house. You didn't know I had one. Now you do. That's the whole conversation. It's not, my mother said, tears streaming down her face again. How can you have achieved all of this and we didn't know? Because you never asked, I said simply, the words cutting like ice. Because every conversation about my life got redirected to Brooke. Because you assumed that since I wasn't posting on social media or seeking attention, I must not have anything worth sharing. James nodded solemnly. I've been watching it for years. Every phone call, every family gathering. It's the Brooke show. Brooke's job, Brooke's boyfriend, Brooke's engagement. Sophia could cure cancer and you'd ask if Brooke wanted dessert. That's not fair. My father finally managed, his voice hoarse. Isn't it? James challenged, his eyes fixed on my father. When was the last time you asked Sophia about her research, her home, her life? When was the last time you treated her like she might have something worth celebrating? The silence that followed was damning. My father looked away, shame etched on his face. My mother sobbed openly. I can tell you exactly when, I said quietly, my voice surprisingly steady. You asked about my research 6 years ago at Thanksgiving. I started explaining my work on nanoparticle drug delivery, and you interrupted after 2 minutes to ask Brooke about her new apartment. You haven't asked since. The specificity of the memory seemed to break something in my mother. I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice thick with anguish. I'm so sorry for not listening, for not caring, for spending 8 years treating me like I was less important than Brooke. We love you both equally, my father insisted, stepping forward, a plea in his eyes. Do you? I asked, a bitter smile touching my lips. Can you tell me what company I work for, what my job title is, what disease I research, where I live, anything about my actual life? The silence stretched, long and agonizing. My father's jaw worked silently. My mother's tears fell unchecked onto her dress. Helix Pharmaceuticals, James provided, his voice gentle but firm. Director of Oncology Research, Pancreatic Cancer, 2847 Sterling Heights Drive. Sophia oversees breakthrough drug development that could save thousands of lives annually. We should have known all that, my mother whispered, her face crumpled. Yes, I agreed, my gaze unflinching. You should have. My father's voice came out rough, strained. What do you want from us, Sophia? Nothing, I said, and as the word left my lips, I realized with a startling clarity that it was true. I wanted you to be proud of me. I wanted you to be interested in my work. I wanted you to see me. But I stopped wanting that about 4 years ago when I finally accepted it wasn't going to happen. It can happen now, my mother pleaded, reaching for me. Can it? I asked, my voice laced with a cold truth. Or do you just want access to your millionaire daughter? Do you want to know me? Or do you want to brag about me now that you can't pretend I'm the disappointing child? The accusation landed hard. My mother flinched as if struck. My father looked utterly stricken, his face pale and drawn. We never thought you were disappointing, my father said, his voice barely audible. You just thought I was less impressive than Brooke, I corrected, my voice gaining strength. Less successful, less worthy of your time and attention. You were wrong. You were catastrophically wrong. But you didn't know because you never bothered to look. James placed a hand gently on my shoulder. Sophia, maybe we should. I'm leaving, I said, cutting him off gently. This is Brooke's night. I shouldn't have come. Sophia, please, my mother called, still reaching for me. I stepped back out of her reach. Enjoy the party. Celebrate Brooke's engagement. It's what you're good at. I turned and walked toward the exit, my heels clicking sharply against the marble floor, each step a deliberate, echoing punctuation mark. Behind me, I heard my mother call my name, a broken, desperate sound, but I didn't turn around. I couldn't. Uncle James caught up with me in the lobby, his hand on my arm. You okay? I think so, I said, a deep breath steadying me. That was harder than I expected. You were perfect, he said, his voice filled with pride. Calm, dignified, truthful, everything they needed to hear. They're going to call, I predicted, a weary certainty in my voice. Tonight, tomorrow. They're going to want to fix this. Maybe, James agreed. paid, but you don't owe them an easy reconciliation. You've spent 8 years trying to be seen. If they want a relationship now, they need to earn it. What if they can't? I asked, a flicker of vulnerability. Then you'll be fine, he said firmly, his eyes unwavering. You have an incredible career, financial security, meaningful work that saves lives, and people who actually appreciate you. You don't need parents who only valued you when they learned your net worth. He was right. I knew he was right, but it still ached, a dull throb in my chest. Thank you, I said, hugging him tightly, for seeing me. Always, he said, returning the embrace with strength. You're the most accomplished person in this family, Sophia. Don't let their blindness make you doubt that. I drove home to Sterling Heights, to my 5-bedroom Craftsman with its breathtaking mountain views and custom finishes, to the life I'd built with my own brilliance, my own dedication, my own relentless work. Inside, everything was exactly as I'd left it. The home office where I reviewed research data and wrote papers that advanced medical science. The library filled with medical journals and oncology textbooks. The guest suite where Uncle James stayed during his visits. The master suite with its spa bathroom and walk-in closet. Every single room represented a choice I'd made, a goal I'd achieved, a dream I'd realized. Not for my parents' approval, not for recognition, just because this was the life I wanted. My phone started ringing. My mother. I let it go to voicemail. Then my father called. Voicemail again. A text from Brooke popped up. You couldn't let me have one night. I set the phone down and walked through my house, room by room. The kitchen where I'd hosted dinner parties my parents had never attended. The backyard with its vibrant garden where I grew vegetables for the local food bank. The basement I'd converted into a home gym and meditation space. The anger I'd expected didn't come. Instead, there was just clarity. Clean, cold, liberating clarity. I had built something extraordinary. I had achieved financial independence, professional recognition, and a profound, meaningful impact. I was revolutionizing cancer treatment. I was on track for achievements my parents couldn't even begin to comprehend. And I'd done it all without their knowledge, without their support, without their approval. Which meant I didn't need those things to succeed. I never had. Tomorrow, there would be more calls, more attempts at reconciliation, more demands that I make them feel better about their failures. But tonight, I stood in my $1.5 million house, surrounded by 8 years of quiet achievement, and let myself feel the full, magnificent weight of what I'd accomplished. Without them, despite them, in spite of them, I'm still processing everything from last night. It was a lot. So tell me, if you were in my shoes, what would you have said? What would you have done? I really want to hear your thoughts in the comments below.